have something that I want to talk about. And I would ask our current solicitor to tell me if I'm overstepping the bounds to say things in public versus an executive session. But, last Monday we had a meeting called on very, very short notice, and I was unable to attend because I had a prior family commitment. And so all I really had to go on was, with the paper report. I tried to watch a little bit out on YouTube, tried to watch as much as I could of that. But there's a few things that really bothered me about the entire process. Number one, the fact that a meeting was called on such late notice, and myself, Jim Rare, and Joe Close weren't even consulted, as had been done the 2 years I've been on the board. Whenever a meeting was called like that, to find out the board members' availability. And so and the purpose of that is to ensure a quorum if you're going to call a meeting. So I would ask you first, Miss, did you consult the other 5?
No, that is
you just
something.
Called it? Okay. I'm just asking.
No, if you pull policy 008, it says a special meeting.
Okay.
I called Ms. Shirley, and actually after the ad went in, and I called her back, and I said, oh, maybe we should call and make sure we have a quorum. By then the ad was already in, but I don't have to if you read policy 008. But I will in the future because, I just assumed because during executive session the week before, Dr. Solak had mentioned about maybe having a special meeting the next week, and I saw people nodding their heads, so I thought, well, I'll call a special meeting. If we don't have a quorum, we don't have a quorum. But I wanted to make sure it got in the newspaper in time, and like I said, after the newspaper, then it hit me, well, maybe I should have called everyone, so that's why.
Oh,
but I did not call 5 other board directors either. I only called Linda Shirley.
Okay, so I wasn't accusing you of doing that. It's just, I want to make every single meeting so that I can answer to my constituents. And since that meeting, of course, it was a big meeting, but I've had a ton of questions from them. And again, to the solicitor, if I'm saying something overstepping my bounds, I'll talk in generalities, so I won't get into specifics. But some of them are more common questions that I think the public, and maybe you touched on it, and I didn't see it in the video or read the paper about it, but primarily, what was the reason for replacement? And this is not an attack against the current solicitor. It has nothing to do with the current solicitor that was chosen, but it's on Andrews and Price. What did they fail to do to misrepresent you? Because what I read in the paper was that it was discussed in executive session, had to do with litigation. Like, what is that about? Because I've been in every executive session, and I don't remember one bad, negative thing said about Lee Price or Price and Andrews that would reflect misrepresentation.
If I may, and I take no offense to your questions, the only thing that I would ask is if any of the comments that some board member would wish to make public, or anything that could affect any ongoing litigation, that they would refrain from doing so.
That puts someone like me between a rock and a hard place. I'll tell you in executive session.
Okay.
And I will tell you that I called Lee Price personally and talked to him about this before the meeting.
Okay.
So, I can answer that to you.
And I appreciate that. The other thing that really bothered me, and I know, Miss, that you said this was something that you thought you wanted to recommend.
Right.
Okay. And I understand that, and if it passed, it passed. If it failed, it failed. But then Mr. Markolinsky came in with a written resolution that night. So to me, not being there and getting the full effect of what went on and the interaction between the board members, it smelled as though there was a potential for a sunshine law violation. And for the public's, in case you don't know what that means, is that that more than 4 board members can have a discussion or deliberate school district business apart from a publicly announced meeting. So I just want to know publicly and ask publicly if some deliberations or discussions took place that would involve that would involve a quorum of school board members regarding the current solicitor.
I'm glad you actually asked that, because if there are people out there, I want to make it clear that that did not happen. And actually, after I called the meeting, Mr. Markolinsky contacted me and told me that he would have a written resolution. I didn't have a resolution. I thought we would discuss it and then ask Linda, to help us word a resolution. But Mr. Markolinsky, after finding out about the meeting, contacted me and told me he had a written resolution. So that's where it came from. There was absolutely no quorum of anyone conspiring or anything like that.
And then the last thing was just in normal practice, what, again, my limited experience on the over 2 years, is whenever we consider hiring people, whether it's third party or employee, for some service or program for the school district, we talked about having more than one vendor or business or service provider. And I'm just wondering why, for the public's sake, and to answer the question that I've been getting, is why we only looked at the solicitor that was chosen that night.
And that's because I called the meeting, and yes, Mr. Matta did represent Hero before, but that to me means nothing. All it means to me is that I got to see the good work he did in the community, and I felt that he was an excellent choice. So I presented it because I called the meeting on my own, and I just figured that if it gets voted down, it gets voted down. But because we're in the middle of some litigation, I didn't really want to waste any time, and that is exactly how it happened.
Well, I don't necessarily, I definitely don't agree with that process, because we don't do that for anything else. And it's just, in the interest of transparency, it doesn't send a good message to the public. And it concerns me greatly that, that we may be pushed, not only that, but there's a lot of things being pushed through right now. And I know, part of it, I don't know if part of it's out of spite because you have the board majority, we had the board majority, but I can honestly tell you, when we had the board majority, I always talked and discussed in public why I made my decisions. I didn't automatically just go along with other people, former board members. I always voted in the best interest, what I thought, in my opinion, the best interest for the taxpayers and the students. So I just think we're getting away from that now. It just seems like votes are being thrown out there to ram things through, and it bothers me greatly. And I hope it bothers some other current board members to rethink that position and hopefully start to really think about the decisions they're making and truly do what's right for students and taxpayers, and not what another board member wishes you to do. That's all I have.
Well, Mr. Choncek, and you know that I explain every time I vote for something. I haven't come through here and rammed anything through. I've talked about every single thing that I've done, and I continue to do that way. Of course, some people may disagree with what I voted on, but I stand by what I voted on just as strongly as you stand by your opinion. I completely feel that I made the right decision, and I realize that, we're not going to waste time arguing it out. We've had 2 years. Every time we talk about closing the school, we also talked about trying to keep it open. I mean, obviously you know that. And so this isn't like this was any sudden decisions on my end, or, well, I can't speak for every director, but obviously, everyone has their own opinions for it. And so, but as far as me, when I speak for myself, I'm just going to say, that there was a lot of discussion on each thing.
In reference to